Pat Riley made absolutely no trades on the 2024 trade deadline day, which means one thing. He's sleeping. We'll talk about it. We'll grade the Heat's overall trade deadline on why they didn't make a move. We'll also look back at the Terry Rozier deal and break down what the Heat could have done and what other teams did as well to get better. But I will say this before we get into it. You should not be shocked, and I am not shocked by the Miami Heat making absolutely no trade during the deadline day. If you watched our video we put out this morning, you would know why. Yes, I talked about a potential blockbuster with Chicago for DeRozan and Caruso, but on the back half of the video, I also said that I don't expect Miami to do anything other than potentially trading away Drew Smith and Thomas Bryant to free up a roster spot and maybe shed some salary, but I am not shocked the Miami Heat did not make a trade. It is your time to chime in on this, though. Grade the Heat's trade deadline A, B, C, D, or F. Did they make a mistake not going out and making a deal? I am going to give you my full grade, including the Terry Rozier trade, in just a second. But wait for that YouTube ad break. Stay tuned for my answer. My grade? Snoring emojis. Nah, just all fun and jokes here. I know we like to joke about Pat Riley sleeping and not making any trades. I like to do a little bit of jokes myself, if you can tell. But in all seriousness, no. If you account for the Terry Rozier trade the Heat made a couple weeks ago, he's played for 9 games for Miami now, I grade this Miami Heat trade deadline, or the last month, at a B. Because let's just take into account here. If the Heat did not make a move for Terry Rozier, maybe they're still struggling in a losing streak. But if they trade for Scary Terry today, all of Heat Nation would be fired up. We'd be jubilated. We'd be throwing a parade for Pat Riley for finally making a move and acquiring a point guard, moving off Kyle Lowry's deal. So to me, there should not be any panic or disgust that Miami didn't make a deal because, well, they made the one trade that they needed to make. It just happened to be 2 weeks ago. The deal, if you don't remember, was the Heat acquiring point guard Terry Rozier, who has now played in 9 games for Miami. They only had to give up Kyle Lowry and a protected 2027 first-round pick. That is lottery protected, and if they are in the lottery in 27, it becomes unprotected in 2028. I want to talk more about Rozier in a second, but we now turn our eyes towards the buyout market for Pat Riley and the Miami Heat. We will have you covered on the latest Miami Heat buyout target rumors and the targets in general. So hit that sub button, and when they sign someone in the buyout market, which I expect they will, we will have you covered. All right, let's kick it back to Scary Terry because he's played in 9 games with the Miami Heat thus far. Heat are 4-1 in their last 5, by the way, so he's 4-5 in those 9 games played. First win coming against the Sacramento Kings just about a week ago. And sure, the raw numbers may be a little misleading here, and you are not happy with them. In his 9-game tenure in Miami, just about 13 points a night after averaging 21 and change for Charlotte up until the trade with Miami. The thing that really stands out when you look at Rozier's 9-game tenure with Miami is the efficiency, right? Shooting 35% from the field and 25% from beyond the arc is just not what we signed up for, especially when Rozier was shooting 44% and 36% when playing for Charlotte. But if you have to take in and look at Rozier's impact for this Miami Heat team, you have to use the eye test, which is always dangerous because sometimes the eyes lie. But I will say with Rozier, the difference isn't coming in the raw statistics. It's his ability to crash the glass. He's got super freaky lengthy arms that just allow him to go pick rebounds out of the sky on the defensive side. And he's even crashed the glass offensively a little bit as well. But it's his pace that I have enjoyed watching so much. He does not waste any motion, any time from getting a defensive rebound and getting it into the front court. You always see Eric Spoelstra on the Heat bench saying, let's go, get into the offense, get into the other side of the court. And Lowry would always walk it up. Rozier sprints. He gets us into that offense, and I have been impressed by his playmaking. He's averaging 5.6 assists, but the key here is, while he has 56 turnovers, assists, only 11 turnovers. Really, really happy with his assist-to-turnover ratio thus far. More about the Heat and the surrounding NBA trade deadline in just a second, but let me show some love to our sponsor on today's show. That is Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports platform in North America. You get a $100 first deposit match when you head over to prizepicks.com. hornetsreceive.com/CLNS and use code CLNS. The Heat don't play till Sunday, so no games to pick there, but I will look at the other game that is happening on Sunday. More than Patrick Mahomes, half of passing yards, take the freebie and run to the cash counter thanks to Prize Picks. Also take the more than on Isaiah Pacheco, half of rushing and receiving touchdowns. Also finish my selection with a more than on Christian McCaffrey receiving yards. That can win up to 5 times your money. Take my picks, take celebrities' picks like comedian Andrew Schultz, rapper Meek Mill, basketball player Josh Hart, that scumbag. You can take his picks or fade his picks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS. I do want to transition from Rozier and talking about that trade and how he's impacted Miami, which to me has been great. And I do want to mention once he starts hitting his jump shots, by the way, he should be unbelievable, and Miami's offense should take another step in a direction that you want to see. I will say, though, I would have liked Miami to make a trade today, including Drew Smith and Thomas Bryant. What do I mean by that? Well, I think it would have benefited Miami to ship away Drew Smith and Thomas Bryant, or just one of them, to create a roster spot and create some cap space for the Miami Heat on the buyout market. Listen, is there going to be a ton of good players on the market? Probably not. But they're going to look to add someone to this roster in all likelihood, and you're going to need some roster space to do that. So I think you could have traded Drew Smith for cash considerations. You lose that salary, you get a couple million, you get a roster spot. Same goes for Thomas Bryant. Drew Smith's out for the year. TB doesn't even play. So why wouldn't you have tried to at least explore moving on from those two to create a spot on your roster and free up some money? I do want to check out some big trades that happened that affect Miami in the trade deadline. The first one was that the Knicks acquired Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks in exchange for Quentin Grimes, Evan Fournier, Ryan Arcidiacono, and 2 second-round picks. So it's intriguing to see the Knicks get a little bit better. I actually still do not consider them that much better than right now, if we're going to be completely honest. They sure added some depth piece to shore up that bench with OG Anunoby being questionable, and then you have Alec Burks being that shooter off the bench, replacing Quentin Grimes. But to me, when you look at the Knicks' rotation down the stretch of games, it's still going to be a closing lineup, at least in all likelihood, assuming they're fully healthy, of pick your poison at center, whether it be Mitchell Robinson coming back or Isaiah Hartenstein, Randall, OG, DiVincenzo, and Brunson. So if it's the same closing 5, I'm not too worried about them. It might help them in the regular season play. When it comes to postseason, I ain't worried about no 2 bum-ass defenders that can't guard shit. All right, moving on to the other trade that affected the Heat, and that is the Philadelphia 76ers acquiring Buddy Hield. I think this is intriguing for a multitude of reasons because Embiid's going to be out for a month plus. They were going to struggle offensively, and they were going to probably fall down the Eastern Conference standings. Now, with Buddy Hield, it might steady the ship in Philadelphia just a little bit on the offensive side of the ball, alongside Tobias Harris, Kelly Oubre, and Tyrese Maxey, the first-time All-Star. I actually really like this move for the Sixers, and assuming Embiid returns this season, you get a 5-man lineup of Maxey, Buddy Hield, Oubre, Tobias Harris, and Embiid. Well, that's going to be very difficult to defend because you can't help on any of those guys because they all can shoot the rock from beyond the arc. So if you double Embiid, well, it's an easy kick out for an open 3-point shooter. It'll be fascinating to see how far Philadelphia potentially falls in the standings. They were at 3 for most of the season. They've already fallen down to 5. How far will that free fall go? I do want to ask this question before we sign off on today's video and come back tomorrow with a video on the buyout targets. Can the Heat make another title run with the roster currently constructed? Rozier, Caleb Martin, Bam, Jimmy, Tyler Hero, your starting 5 with Jaquez, Josh Richardson, and Duncan Robinson off the bench alongside Kevin Love. Can they make a run with that roster? Type Y for yes or type N for no. One last time, I do want to make sure you guys are subscribed. Stay tuned because tomorrow morning, bright and early, we're coming back at you with an 8 a.m. video on the East Coast, breaking down the latest Miami Heat rumors and the targets for the Heat in the buyout market. And I'll give you a quick little teaser right now. An old pal of ours will be absolutely on that list. So hit that sub button and come back tomorrow morning for another video.